And I am the owner and principal of National Restaurant Consultants. And we welcome you into the 213th episode of the NRC Helpful Moment. And as always, Mr. Brian Devine is here, all the way from upstate New York, near Albany, New York.
Yes, indeed.
And thank you, Brian, for taking the time to be here, and I appreciate you doing that. And today, on the 213th edition, we're going to talk about, are you health inspection ready or compliant? This week, myself along with a couple other people recertified ourselves as ServSafe certified food professionals. Now, we don't have our results yet back, but we're pretty confident that we passed. This will be my fourth time that I've actually recertified as a ServSafe professional. There's a new FDA guidelines that were published in February. So there are new things that I learned even after all these years. There's new things as far as temperatures, holding, how you deal with sous vide product, HACCP requirements. And often the states where you may be living require a PIC, a person in charge at all times. Now, almost every state has a requirement of someone having a ServSafe or equivalent food handler certification. Being compliant is important so you don't get fined, etc. But more importantly, it's doing the right things to make sure that you are serving good, wholesome, healthy food, and that you're not going to have any of those problems with your staff or with vendors or for sure your customers. Nobody wants that phone call that 2 or 3 or 4 people are calling you 2 days after they visited your restaurant that people are sick from eating in your establishment. No one wants that phone call.
No.
And absolutely, there are things that we can and must do as food service professionals to make sure that we are serving good, healthy, safe, and wholesome food. A lot of things start with proper hand washing, holding foods, hot food hot, cold food cold, making sure that our staff have proper hygiene, that we're doing just the right things because it is the right thing to do. And I can tell you this, you don't want that phone call. And if you do get that phone call, or if you are in an unsure situation, there are things that you can do to be proactive or have a plan. And that's the most important thing, is a marketing PR type plan.
Yeah.
That if something does unfortunately happen, how do you facilitate it? How do you handle it both internally and externally? And that's really what I'm going to do, is I'm going to flip it over to Brian here, because it really is as important as a marketing plan is a, almost you call it a what happens if this happens plans. It could even be as far as not only bad food or somebody getting sick, but slips, falls prevention, and it certainly could be, if unfortunately you get held up, burglary or worse. So it's called being proactive. Of course, we know that. And that's really what it's about. So I'm going to send it over to Brian. He probably has a few thoughts on this. Brian?
Yeah, thanks for that, Richard. And that kind of leads me right into sort of the marketing side of being compliant, and that's ADA compliance, American Disabilities Act. And this is something that I'm recommending all of our clients just get in front of this. This is something that, believe it or not, during the pandemic, it became a huge issue where people were being fined and sued at very high rates over not having their website what's called ADA compliant. And that means that if someone is disabled, that they have the ability to still utilize your website. And this is kind of an overarching thing that is, the question started to become, well, is it a state thing or is it a federal? And well, it's both. And if your state doesn't have clear guidelines, federally there are, and that means that you really need to be ADA compliant. So don't wait for the state to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Just go ahead and get compliant. It is so easy and it's not expensive. And it's the right thing to do, in the long run. I mean, to make sure that if someone with a disability can utilize your website, you're just doing the right thing, just like what Richard was talking about. It's about doing the right thing in the long run. So if you don't even know what ADA compliance is, we've made it really easy so that you can just put a little piece of code on your website and it turns your entire website ADA compliant. And if we should miss anything, then we even do this extra step where we give this letter that says, if our website is not meeting your requirements, this is how you contact us so that we can make it right. And that basically, that's that last little step to make sure that lawyers don't bother you. And so we do that. We really do that on purpose. And it's just to kind of just add that extra little layer of safety just in case. So if that's something that you'd like to do, we're here to help. Richard and I, we always want to make sure that we're being helpful. So again, if you are not sure if you're ADA compliant, then get in touch with us and we will tell you. It will take us about 2 seconds. Right? We'll go to your website, run a piece of code, and find out if you are ADA compliant. If you are not, we are recommending that you become so, and we can do that for you. And that website down there will do it for you. Really straightforward stuff, but it's just about getting in front of it. And like Richard said, it's just so that you don't have to deal with something really horrible later. And that's really what it's all about. Is just get in front of this. It's not expensive, and it's in the long run you're doing the right thing. And eventually we're going to probably start seeing states put and they're going to be very specific about what you have to have, and we're covering all the bases for you.
And it's not just whether it's federally or state. It could even be as far down as a local jurisdiction.
Sure.
And you want to make sure that you're doing the right things. And as we said, the health department, ADA, all those things, they're the right things, the reasons that they're there. And as food service professionals, we can make sure that we're doing things in our establishments and on our social media that are compliant and proper. So that really is what it is about today. Hopefully everybody had a great Mother's Day weekend. A lot of restaurateurs that we talked to over the weekend, and since this past Sunday, they had a really positive amount of sales and traffic. And so we hope that that's a good sign as we move further into spring and head towards summer for everybody. So that's the NRC Helpful Moment for today. Brian, anything else?
I think that's it. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right. So long for now. Bye.
Bye for now.